The next time you find yourself talking to a woman, you will not need to wonder endlessly if she feels a spark toward you. Her body language often speaks louder than her words, but only if you know what to pay attention to. Many men overlook these signals, spending hours in conversation and walking away with the exhausting question, is she actually drawn to me, or am I just imagining it? That uncertainty can be overwhelming, and even worse, it can cause you to miss real opportunities without realizing it. The reality is that women rarely state their attraction outright. They may hold back because they fear appearing too eager. They value their independence, or they want to see if you are observant enough to notice. Yet this restraint does not mean their interest is invisible. Their movements, their tone of voice, and the unconscious ways they respond often reveal more than their words ever could. In this video, I will guide you through 10 powerful signs that reveal her desire even when she chooses not to voice it. These signals are subtle and often overlooked, but once you learn to recognize them, you will begin to see attraction where others see only polite conversation. Understanding these cues allows you to sense genuine connection and will transform the way you relate to women, giving you clarity instead of doubt. Let us begin with the first and most revealing sign, her eyes. People often say the eyes reflect the soul, but in moments of attraction they also reflect emotions too deep or too vulnerable to be spoken aloud. A woman can disguise her words, her tone, even her smile, but the way her eyes linger or light up in your presence is far more difficult to conceal. When she feels drawn to you yet tries to suppress it, her eyes often betray the truth. You may notice her gaze rests on you longer than a normal conversation would require. She is not merely looking at you, she is looking into you. That subtle pause of her eyes is her subconscious attempting to bridge a connection without sound. Consider Ethan, 29, having coffee with his friend Jessica. 27. Their talk drifts casually from work to weekend plans. Yet whenever Ethan glances up, Jessica is already focused on him. Instead of retreating quickly, her eyes remain steady, almost as if she is examining him with quiet curiosity. This is not the fleeting look you share with a colleague. It is slower, more deliberate, and carries an unspoken intensity. Pay attention in such moments and you may detect small shifts, the slight widening of her pupils, a softened expression, or even a faint smile tugging at her lips. These are physical responses that reveal her attraction on a primal level. Another signal, often overlooked, is what can be called scanning. Instead of locking on your eyes, her gaze may wander gently from your eyes to your lips, then perhaps to your shoulders or chest before returning to your face. This movement shows her mind is wandering beyond the surface of the dialogue, imagining closeness without explicitly declaring it. Of course, context matters. Eye contact alone is not enough to prove desire. A friendly person might look directly at you without any hidden meaning. Yet, when these moments of gaze are paired with other cues, such as subtle shifts in tone, nervous adjustments of her hands, or a tendency to remain physically close, they become part of a larger message. In many cultures, particularly in the United States, women avoid overt verbal flirtation. Instead, they test your awareness by using their eyes, silently asking whether you are perceptive enough to understand. If you fail to notice, the moment often slips away and she may quietly conclude that you are blind to her signals. Many men make the mistake of either obsessing over these moments or dismissing them entirely. The wiser response is calm recognition. Hold her gaze gently for a brief moment, then offer a quiet, confident smile. You are communicating that you see her and understand her without a single word. This response mirrors a Stoic attitude. Epictetus reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we might listen more than we speak. In this case, replace ears with eyes. True attentiveness requires patience, restraint, and awareness, so the next time you are with her, be present and observant. Do not stare in a way that feels forced, but remain open to what her eyes might reveal. Her words may appear casual, yet her gaze could be telling you something entirely different. Share your thoughts in the comments with the phrase, "I notice everything." It is a simple declaration, but it reflects the quiet strength of a man who observes with clarity and composure. And if you think her eyes speak volumes, wait until you discover the next sign. The second sign is her voice, which can quietly transform into a signal of desire. When a voice softens, it often gains intensity rather than losing it. A woman lowering her voice does more than change the sound, it changes the energy between you. Humans instinctively use a softer tone in moments of privacy and intimacy because it makes the listener lean in, close the distance, and concentrate on every syllable. When a woman feels drawn to you but prefers to keep it unspoken, her voice will slow, soften, and almost hypnotize your attention. This shift can happen suddenly in the middle of an ordinary conversation. One moment she is speaking at a normal volume, and the next she speaks as though sharing something meant only for you. Her words may be simple, asking about your day or making an ordinary remark. Yet the way she delivers them carries the true meaning. Her voice becomes smoother, her pacing more deliberate, and certain words seem to stretch just slightly. What you are hearing is not only her voice, but her nervous system responding to attraction. Adrenaline and oxytocin subtly alter her tone, drawing you closer without her needing to take any obvious physical step. Pay attention to context. If you are in a crowded room and she lowers her voice only when speaking to you, it is not an accident. She is creating an intimate space within a public one. Combine that with a slight lean toward you, and the effect is magnetic. Marcus Aurelius once said that the soul is colored by the nature of its thoughts. In the same way, her words may sound ordinary, but the softness and richness of her tone revealed the deeper state of her emotions. You are not just hearing content, you are sensing her inner world. Many men misunderstand this moment. They hear the shift and immediately assume it is a direct invitation, which often makes them push too quickly and ruin the natural rhythm. A wiser approach is patience. Notice it, appreciate it, and mirror it without haste. Adjust your own tone slightly, slower and softer, and let the tension grow in its own time. This composure is not weakness, it is strength. By showing you can remain calm in the presence of attraction, you demonstrate self-control, which only deepens your appeal. Think of times when someone's voice captivated you so deeply that the meaning of the words faded, and all that mattered was the feeling behind them. That is exactly the effect she may be creating, guiding your attention toward emotion rather than information. If you are perceptive, you will recognize this as an invitation to respond in kind. Lean in a little, answer with a tone that matches hers, and allow the unspoken connection to unfold. This creates a shared space where she feels both safe and intrigued. Before we move to the next sign, share the phrase "I hear more than words" in the comments. It shows that you are not just a man who listens, but one who truly understands. If her voice can reveal this much, her body language will speak volumes in ways that are even harder to conceal. The third sign is when her sense of personal space fades away. From an early age, we all learn the silent rule of distance, that invisible bubble that protects our comfort. Breaking it usually signals either intimacy or confrontation. Yet when a woman feels genuine attraction, that boundary does not simply shrink, it can dissolve altogether. Picture yourself at a gathering where conversation hums and music plays softly. You lean against a counter, and suddenly you sense her presence. She is not merely beside you, she is close enough that you can feel the warmth of her arm. This is rarely accidental. Women are acutely aware of how near they stand to others, and most will not choose to remain within arm's reach of a man unless they feel comfortable and drawn to him. Attraction often shows itself in these subtle encroachments. She may position herself shoulder to shoulder, let her body brush yours just long enough to linger, or lean in during conversation even when the room is quiet enough to hear perfectly. These moments are her way of erasing the polite distance that usually separates two people. Consider Ryan, 28, at a company happy hour. As he chats with colleagues, Emily, 26, gradually narrows the space between them until they are standing side by side, almost touching. She does not cling or make obvious gestures, yet whenever the group shifts, she readjusts to remain by his side. Ryan notices she could step back at any moment, but she never does. That choice speaks volumes. Psychologically, closeness reflects both comfort and desire. And when someone is drawn to you, they naturally want to occupy your space. This nearness creates more than physical contact. It forms a kind of private world between two people, even in a crowded setting. At the same time, it can serve as a test. She may be silently watching to see how you handle her closeness. Do you flinch or move away, or do you calmly hold your ground? A man with composure will stay present and steady, which conveys that her presence is welcome. Epictetus reminded us that events themselves do not disturb us, our judgments about them do. If you dismiss her nearness as meaningless, you may miss her signal. If you recognize it as an invitation, you can respond in a way that deepens the moment. The response does not need to be dramatic. Matching her energy with subtle shifts is enough. If she steps closer, you can angle your body toward hers, or lower your voice so the closeness feels natural. The space itself becomes a kind of touch. Over time, the distance may narrow gradually, beginning with a few feet and ending with shoulders brushing lightly every few moments. This is not random. It is a sign that her comfort zone is being replaced by your presence. It is rare for a woman to dissolve that invisible bubble with someone she feels indifferent toward. When she chooses to close the gap, she is making a quiet but unmistakable statement. The man who notices this and does not rush to exploit it shows rare strength. Stand your ground, remain composed, and let her closeness communicate what words often cannot. The next sign is her hands, which often reveal truths her words conceal. You can understand a great deal about a woman without a single sentence being spoken, because her hands carry a language of their own. The way she moves them, where she places them, and the gestures she makes can quietly communicate her attraction. Most men overlook this subtle dialogue, yet it often speaks long before her lips do. When interest is present, her hands shift from simple, practical tools to expressive messengers of what she feels but does not yet voice. At times, this shows up as delicate fidgeting, not nervous or chaotic, but intentional, graceful movements that reveal her inner state. She might circle the rim of her glass, play gently with a strand of hair, or glide her fingertips along a surface as you talk. These actions are not necessary. They are her way of channeling the energy she feels around you. At other moments, her gestures may become more open. She may use her hands more freely while speaking, often revealing her palms as an unconscious sign of trust. She might rest her hands near yours, brush lightly against your arm, or adjust something on your clothing as an excuse for contact. Self-touch is another powerful clue. When she runs a hand along her neck, straightens a necklace, or smooths her dress. Psychologists describe these as auto-contact behaviors. They often appear when a woman feels heightened awareness of a man's presence. On one level, these are soothing gestures. On another, they subtly draw your eyes to her body, inviting attention without direct words. From a Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius urged us to observe what is before us. The wisdom here is not to dissect every single motion, but to notice patterns. One isolated gesture may mean little, but when the same signals emerge repeatedly, they reveal something deeper. Mirroring is among the strongest indicators. If you place your hand in a certain position and soon after she unknowingly mimics it, that is unconscious alignment. Our hands are tied directly to our nervous system. When someone feels neutral, their hands are quiet. But with attraction, anticipation, or excitement, the hands grow animated as if releasing excess energy. Sometimes she may even use her hands to test your awareness. She might brush a speck from your shoulder, let her fingers linger when handing you something, or rest her hand briefly on your forearm during laughter. None of these moments are random. She is gauging how you respond. Many men fail here by reacting too strongly or dismissing the gesture entirely. The wiser course is subtle acknowledgement. If she touches your arm, hold her gaze briefly. If her hand is close to yours, allow it to remain there without forcing the moment. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Do not let overthinking ruin a natural interaction. Do not assign exaggerated meaning to a single touch, nor dismiss it as meaningless. Stay steady, notice the rhythm of her hands, and let her comfort unfold naturally. Her gestures may be shy, bold, playful, or deliberate, but they rarely lie. Once you learn to read them, you will see the story of attraction long before it is spoken aloud. The next sign is her breath, which can quietly reveal a deep, primal chemistry. Breath is not simply about volume or heaviness. It is about subtle shifts that occur in your presence, whether her breathing begins to mirror yours, whether it becomes faster with excitement or slower with comfort and intimacy. This is not just another cue of attraction. It is a signal that can change the dynamic between you if you know how to observe it. Attraction does not exist only in words, touch, or eye contact. It lives in the body. Imagine Jake, 29, sitting with Emily, 27, in a quiet wine bar. They have been friends for some time, but tonight the atmosphere is different. As Jake leans closer to say something, Emily laughs, her breath catching for a split second before she exhales slowly, almost savoring the pause. In that instant, Jake notices the shift. This is no longer casual friendship. It is chemistry, physiologically. Breathing is highly responsive to desire. A woman may take quicker, shallower breaths when excited, or deeper, slower breaths when she feels relaxed yet connected. Sometimes her breathing will unconsciously synchronize with yours. This mirroring is not conscious play acting. It is her body aligning with yours on a primal level. At other times, you may notice her breath stop suddenly after you tease or surprise her. That momentary pause is anticipation, not discomfort. Pair this with signs like dilated pupils, parted lips, or a lean toward you, and the picture becomes undeniable. Epictetus advised that we should use our faculties to observe more than we speak. Applied here, it means listening with all your senses. Pay attention to her breathing patterns. They often whisper truths that her words never will. This does not mean staring at her chest in a way that breaks the moment, but rather tuning into the rhythm that shifts naturally as the interaction unfolds. Times. Her breath itself becomes part of the intimacy. If you are close enough to feel it, such as leaning in during a concert or while sharing a quiet conversation, you may notice her breath become warmer, quicker, or more deliberate. That shift in the air between you carries electricity. Jake, in that wine bar, did not rush forward. Instead, he slowed his own breathing, softened his tone, and allowed Emily's rhythm to align with his. By the end of the night, their breaths moved together unconsciously. That is the quiet strength of awareness. Of course, not every change in breath is a sign of desire. She may have climbed stairs or feel nervous for reasons unrelated to you. Context matters. Never build an entire conclusion on one signal alone. But when her breath changes in response to your presence, your words, or the space between you, that is a strong indicator of attraction. Asterisk, so the next time you are with her, notice. If her breathing quickens as you lean closer, if she holds it for a moment after a teasing comment, or if she unconsciously matches your rhythm, it is not random. It is connection. Share in the comments the phrase, "I feel the spark," if you have ever noticed this sign and understood what it meant. And stay tuned, because the next signal is even more revealing, and it is one most men overlook entirely. Number 6 is about subtle touches, the quiet gestures that often speak louder than words. Attraction does not always declare itself through obvious signals. More often, it arrives softly, hidden in fleeting moments of contact. These touches are so quick and casual that you might question whether they carry any meaning at all. Yet when a woman feels drawn to you, her body instinctively seeks ways to close the distance, creating contact without a word being spoken. It could be her hand brushing your forearm as she makes a point, her knee pressing lightly against yours beneath a table, or her fingers resting just a moment too long when passing something to you. On their own, these gestures seem small, but they can communicate more than hours of conversation. Touch is a primal language that bypasses reason and speaks directly to emotion. Marcus Aurelius once reflected on the fleeting nature of human experiences. Applied here, the lesson is not to dismiss these touches, but to recognize their subtlety. They come and go quickly, often before you have time to process them. If you are lost in thought or distracted, you may miss them entirely. Presence is essential. Notice the touch, acknowledge it inwardly, but remain calm. Composure grants you control of the moment. Psychologists point out that even light, seemingly accidental touches can trigger oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both people. It is her way of testing your response without risking rejection. If you meet her gesture with calm awareness, perhaps by holding her gaze, offering a quiet smile, or later returning a gentle touch to her back, you strengthen the bond without disrupting the tension. The placement of the touch matters. A tap on the shoulder might be casual. Her hand grazing your lower back as she passes by tells a very different story. Context adds further clarity. In a crowded room, contact might be unavoidable. But if space is plentiful and she still finds reasons to touch you, it is intentional. Most men overlook these signals entirely. Your role is not to seize on them greedily, but to recognize them and let the moment unfold. Restraint is what makes these gestures powerful. If you rush to escalate, you remove the very tension that gives them meaning. Think of a skilled musician who knows that silence between notes makes the music stronger. When you remain calm and let the gesture breathe, you create space for her to touch you again, this time more deliberately. That curiosity becomes its own form of attraction. If she continues finding reasons to make contact when there is no necessity, she is no longer being subtle. At that point, she is communicating openly through her actions, even if her words remain silent. So when you feel her fingertips linger on your arm or sense the warmth of her hand against you, do not dismiss it as chance. These are deliberate signals of what she feels but may not yet be ready to say. If you have ever noticed this and felt the charge of attraction shift in an instant, share in the comments the phrase, "I can feel it," and stay tuned, because the next sign is even more powerful. The kind of signal that can quicken your pulse before you even realize what is happening. Number 7 is the lip language of desire, a signal that speaks without sound. Some of the most powerful cues of attraction are not found in her words, but in how she uses her lips. Many women reveal interest through small, deliberate gestures that most men fail to notice. It might be the slow bite of her lower lip as she meets your eyes, the subtle sweep of her tongue across her lips, or the pause in conversation to moisten them. These actions may look unconscious, but they often carry a deeper meaning. Her mind is not only on the conversation, it is on you. Take Jake, 29, sharing a laugh with a co-worker at an evening gathering. As she maintained eye contact, he noticed her gently tracing her tongue along the corner of her mouth. Jake did not rush or break the tension with an obvious reaction. Instead, he leaned in slightly, lowered his voice, and let the energy build. Later, she admitted she had been testing him to see if he could notice her signal while remaining composed. That is the essence of lip language. It is both sensual and deniable, a way to show interest while appearing completely innocent. Another example is Melissa, 26, on a coffee date. While playing with the rim of her cup, she bit her lip lightly while glancing at her date. He gave a small smile and carried on with calm confidence. That subtle acknowledgement said more than words could. Psychologically, these gestures are powerful because humans are naturally drawn to mouths. The lips are associated with intimacy, and when she highlights them through small movements, she directs your focus there. A Stoic would say, the body speaks its truth even when the tongue remains silent. Her lips, in this context, become a messenger of desire. The mistake many men make is either failing to see the signal or reacting too directly. Staring at her mouth in a way that breaks the flow will only create discomfort. The wiser move is subtle recognition. A faint smile, steady eye contact, or a quiet lean forward shows her that you have noticed without ruining the moment. Timing is also important. If these gestures follow something playful or personal you said, they are more likely intentional. If they appear again and again, they are not just a habit, but a sign. These signals often appear alongside others, such as a softer voice, a lean toward you, or a change in her breathing. Together, they paint a picture that moves you from guessing to knowing. If you have ever caught this signal and felt the magnetic pull behind it, share in the comments with the phrase, "I see the sign," and stay with me, because the next cue is even more powerful, a signal almost impossible for her to conceal, and one that can transform the way you read her body language. The next sign is fidgeting, subtle but powerful clue of nervous attraction. There's a certain energy in the air when a woman is drawn to you but isn't ready to say it out loud. That energy often shows itself through small, restless movements. This isn't the anxious fidgeting of discomfort. It's the playful way she twists her hair, adjusts her necklace, when it doesn't need adjusting, taps her fingers lightly on a glass, or shifts in her seat more than necessary. On the surface, these movements look casual, but they're quiet signals that your presence is stirring something inside her. Fidgeting is an involuntary response to heightened emotional arousal. When she's attracted to you, her body may resist being perfectly still because her mind is balancing excitement, curiosity, and the desire to make a good impression. That's why you'll notice her toying with a straw, folding and refolding a napkin, or brushing her hand across her own arm. Each of these actions is a way of channeling the extra energy you've sparked in her. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Her thoughts are on you, and her movements reflect that. In many cases, fidgeting is also self-soothing. Like rubbing one's hands together on a cold date's her body's way of calming the adrenaline rush of attraction. If she were indifferent, she'd likely be still, composed, and minimal in her gestures. The fact that she's moving more is often a sign that you matter to her. The mistake many men make is calling it out directly. Why are you so nervous? Which only makes her self-conscious and disrupts the natural flow. A better approach is to notice quietly and stay grounded yourself. Your calm presence creates a magnetic contrast against her restless energy, and that balance often heightens her attraction. Pay attention to when her fidgeting intensifies. Does she start playing with her hair right after you give her a compliment? Does she stir her drink more after you share a laugh? Those shifts aren't random. They're micro-expressions of excitement. Sometimes she may even channel her fidgeting into something deliberately enticing, like slowly tracing the rim of her glass, sliding a bracelet along her wrist, or rearranging her hair to frame her face. These actions draw your attention in ways that are far from accidental. When you notice this, you unlock a deeper layer of communication signals she may never verbalize, but are just as real. If you've ever caught this kind of nervous attraction and used it to guide your next move, drop a comment with "I read the signs," and stay with me, because the next signal isn't in her hands or her posture. It's written all over her face in moments when the tension between you is at its peak. Number 9. Blushing, the red-tinted confession. Blushing is one of the most honest and revealing signs of attraction because it cannot be faked. When a woman's cheeks flush in your presence, her body is giving her away before her words ever could. She can't will it to happen, and she can't stop it once it starts. It's a silent confession that her emotions have spiked, whether from attraction, a spark of embarrassment, or the intoxicating mix of both. Picture Daniel, 29, sitting across from Emily, 27, in a coffee shop. They've shared laughs before, but something feels different today. As he teases her about an inside joke, he notices her cheeks suddenly turn pink. Her eyes glance away for just a second, and a shy smile creeps across her lips. She isn't embarrassed by the joke, she's reacting to him. That rush of color in her face says more than any words could. Physiologically, blushing is a surge of blood to the tiny vessels under the skin, triggered by the sympathetic nervous system. But in the context of attraction, it's far more than Biogiat's vulnerability on display. She is literally wearing her feelings for you, knowing full well you can see them. That's why blushing is often paired with other subtle cues. A bitten lip, a soft laugh, or a glance she can't quite hold. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, in a way." Blushing is her brief surrender to that same vulnerability. It's her body admitting what her mind might still be guarding. This unplanned honesty is what makes it so magnetic. It's raw, real, and uncalculated. Context is everything. If she blushes right after you compliment her, it's a clear sign that your words hit deeper than casual politeness. If it happens during playful banter, it reflects excitement and the thrill of being caught off guard. And in quieter, more intimate settings, that red tint can mean her thoughts are moving exactly where you're hoping. The danger comes in how you handle it. If you call it out bluntly, "Wow, you're blushing," you risk breaking the moment and making her so. The stronger move is subtle acknowledgement. Hold her gaze a heartbeat longer. Let a knowing smile appear, or simply continue with calm composure. This deepens the tension instead of diffusing it. That's exactly what Daniel did. He didn't mention Emily's blush. He just leaned back, lowered his voice, and let the moment breathe. She felt seen without being exposed, and the spark between them only grew. You can't force a blush, but you can create the conditions for it through genuine compliments, playful teasing, or simply holding eye contact long enough for her to feel your presence fully. When it happens, don't overplay your hand. Let her body tell the truth for her. If you've ever witnessed this red-tinted confession and instantly knew what it meant, comment with, "I saw the truth," and stay tuned. The next sign isn't about what you see, but about a tension you can feel deep in your bones, one that changes the entire atmosphere between you. The next sign is genuine laughter, the kind that cannot be faked. It is not a polite chuckle or a quick courtesy laugh. This laughter comes from somewhere deeper, bubbling out before she can control it, leaving her a little breathless. When you hear this from her, it is not only because of what you said. It is because of who you are in that moment and how she feels in your presence. This laughter is more than amusement. It is a release of energy, a signal of comfort, and often a form of surrender. It shows that her guard has dropped, that the barrier between polite conversation and true connection has dissolved. She is no longer laughing at a joke, she is laughing with you. And that distinction reveals a deeper attraction than words could ever say. In the language of desire, genuine laughter is a sign of intimacy, trust, and an emotional bond. If someone else said the same line, she might only smirk. But when it comes from you, paired with the timing, the eye contact, and the spark of chemistry, it lands differently. Her laughter is tied to the way you make her feel, rather than the content of what you said. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When her laughter is richer, freer, and more alive in your presence, it is because you have colored her thoughts in a way that excites her. She is associating you with that spark of joy, and that association is far more powerful than any clever line could ever be. Consider Jack, 31, spending a Sunday afternoon in the park with Natalie. 28, their talk drifts from serious to playful, from thoughtful questions to ridiculous tangents. Jack casually makes a silly remark, not even a crafted joke. Yet Natalie bursts into uncontrollable laughter. She leans against him, her eyes shining, trying to compose herself while still giggling. His words weren't objectively hilarious, but the comfort, closeness, and unspoken energy between them made it their private moment. This is what makes genuine laughter magnetic. It becomes a shared fingerprint, a memory that feels exclusive to the two of you. It is not about how funny you are. It is about resonance, about how your presence changes the way she experiences even the smallest things. You cannot force this kind of laughter. Trying too hard or fishing for jokes will only keep you on the surface. True connection does not come from performance. It comes from presence. When her laughter feels effortless and unrestrained, you know you are not just entertaining her, you are reaching her. Once you recognize this, the difference is undeniable. A polite laugh is transactional, given out of habit or courtesy. But a genuine laugh is magnetic. When she laughs like this, she is telling you without words that she feels safe, open, and connected in a way she does not share with just anyone. It is a surrender of her guard, a sign that you have reached beyond casual conversation and touched something much deeper. Asterisk. If you've experienced a moment like this where her laughter was not about the joke itself, but about the bond it revealed, it in the comments with "I felt the spark." Those 3 words show that you are a man who pays attention, who knows when something real has entered the room. And if this video resonated with you, subscribe so you never miss the mindset shifts and insights that turn ordinary interactions into powerful connections. What we are building here is more than dating advice. It is a philosophy of presence, patience, and growth. We do not chase. We lead, we grow, and we rise together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with the next lesson that could completely shift the way you see both yourself and the women around you.